Hi and welcome to my channel. In this video I want to talk about the HTTP tools that you can use to simulate sending a request and getting responses from your web applications, especially if you are working with web APIs and you're creating web service for your customers and clients. These tools could be very useful. I'm going to talk about these 5 that I have listed in here, but I'm sure there are plenty more. This is what I've used and what I'm going to talk about today. So when you are doing web development, you are always working with HTTP in the background. Data comes to you with a request inside HTTP and it goes back to the client using HTTP, and the server that your application is running inside is using HTTP. So we need tools to work with HTTP, simulate how it works, and in that way we can test our applications and make sure it works properly. So I have a simple application in here. It is a CRUD application just to do get, post, delete and put inside a simple application using HTTP as in a RESTful way, and we are going to test this API using different tools that I showed you earlier. So first let's run this application without debugging and see what it is. It's a simple application that you can add, remove movies, and to get to the API you can use API movie, and I'm using an extension inside my Chromium which is JSON view that enables you to see the JSON data in a beautiful format, and if you consider it is beautiful. But it's much easier to read, at least from what we see usually as a plain text. So I recommend you to use this tool or a tool like this. There are plenty more extensions like this, but somehow I like this JSON view. This is what we get when we call a get method inside our application. You can always see what is happening in the background using the network tab in your browser. It is available in any browser that you're working with, especially in Chrome and Edge, and in this Chromium is very powerful. So let's run this URL again, and you can see all the data that is going back and forth. Here we have the result and the response. If you made the header, it is here. It is 200 okay. Status, so it is successful, and you can use this tab to test your request and response and see what is happening in the background. But if you need more than that, you're gonna need other tools. So first let's run this application without debugging and see what it is. It's a simple application that you can add, remove movies, and to get to the API you can use API movie, and I'm using an extension inside my Chromium which is JSON view that enables you to see the JSON data in a beautiful format, and if you consider it is beautiful. But it's much easier to read, at least from what we see usually as a plain text. So I recommend you to use this tool or a tool like this. There are plenty more extensions like this, but somehow I like this JSON view. This is what we get when we call a get method inside our application. You can always see what is happening in the background using the network tab in your browser. It is available in any browser that you're working with, especially in Chrome and Edge, and in this Chromium is very powerful. So let's run this URL again, and you can see all the data that is going back and forth. Here we have the result and the response. If you made the header, it is here. It is 200 OK. Status, so it is successful. And you can use this tab to test your request and response and see what is happening in the background. But if you need more than that, you're gonna need other tools. So the first tool I'm going to talk about is PostMan. PostMan was basically a Chrome extension, and later these days it's a desktop application too. There is a paid version, I guess, but you don't really need that for the most part. And to work with PostMan is very easy actually. So let's see how it works. In here you can set the type of request that you are going to make, and we're going to use get method, and this is the address to our API, and I can send request and get the result, as you can see in here. So that's the easy part. If you want to make a post request, you can always come here and select the post type, and you can have a body in HTML format and send form data. This is good if you are working with HTML page. Inside an HTML page there is a form, and you want to simulate its behavior, and that's when you use form data. But if you want to send JSON, which is what we are going to do here, you need to go to this raw part and pick the type of data you are going to send. And I'm going to send JSON, and the JSON I'm going to send is very simple one. I'm going to name, and Rain Man is the name of the movie I'm going to send, and the year I'm not sure, but let's say 1995. And it's better to put the JSON values in double quotations. So let's send it and see what happened in the background. So we see a 200 OK down here. It's a good idea to say something back to the client when you are working with API. Actually, there's a standard for that, and a specification in HTTP says that you have to send back the data that is newly created and inform the client of what happened. But I haven't done that inside here. So we get a 200 OK, and we can always go back to our get method and run it again and see the result in here. Let's see. Okay, I got my body, and down here I see the new item that I've just created. So it worked. We sent the get method and post method and saw the result using Postman. This is how you work with Postman. It's available for you to save the request and send it again later, because most of the time we need that. Maybe your API is not working, you're testing it, and you want to go back and forth and make sure everything is uh, working again and again. So it's a good idea, a good feature to be able to save your request and run them again, because most of the time the form you are going to send is complex. There are a lot of fields that you are making sure that they are working, they are in the right format, and just to be able to save them is a great feature. So the next tool I'm going to talk about is Fiddler. Fiddler is by far one of the most powerful applications in this area, and it is actually created by one of the engineers at Microsoft back when he was working on Internet Explorer, and later it's been sold to Telerik, as I remember. And nowadays, if you want to use it, you need to go to Telerik website and search for this tool. It's very powerful, by far one of the most powerful apps that is out there. It's actually proxy, and it comes between any request and response that you are getting from your network and you, so you can manipulate everything inside your HTTPs. For example, if you want to change the background of every website that you are visiting to a color like purple, it's possible. You can write a script, and every time in any browser that you are working, if the Telerik is on and is capturing the request and response, it can change all the requests and responses. You can also use it to hack a system, especially if you could run it on a network and a public router or everything, because it captures all the requests and responses, saves it, and you can do many interesting stuff with it. But we developers usually use this just to see what is happening in network and compose HTTP requests and responses. If you want to see all the requests and responses, you can disable this use filters. I enable it because if I disable it, you can see that there is going to be a lot of logs in here. Let's open a website like any website, my own website, or a website like Google, and as you can see, it's capturing all the things that is going back and forth, and that could be useful sometimes if you are doing something very complex. But for web development, usually you want to use filters and make sure you only work with localhost URLs, because that's where we usually perform our work. And so now when I am on my localhost and run a command or get to a path, I can see the result in here. And if I double click here, there is request headers and there are response headers. I can see the raw format or JSON format, and it just gives you a lot of tools to work with HTTP. One of the most powerful aspects of using Fiddler is that you're able to do scripting. There's a Fiddler script in here, and it's using C# language, and there are a lot of stuff in here. Maybe it's easier to do it in this way, customize rules, and you can change many things that is in your requests and response, like working with sessions and headers. As I said, you can customize every website you are visiting using this script and do very crazy stuff. But let's check one of the easy ones. You can simulate the performance. If I use this simulate modem speed and my filter is on and the capturing is on, now in any browser that you're working with, local host, the speed goes down, and to customize it you can always come to customize rules and search for modem speed. Let's search for modem, and yes, in here you can delay the requests and response. We are delaying request by 300 milliseconds per kilobyte, and responses with 150 milliseconds per kilobyte. And you can always change these numbers and simulate very slower or faster HTTP or modem speeds, and that is one of the features that I've used a couple of times, but obviously there are a lot more to work with. As I said, Telerik owns Fiddler, and now they're working on a new project called Progress Telerik or Telerik Everywhere. Let's run it and see how it works. Basically, it's the same app like Fiddler, but it's new, shiny, rewritten, and with better user interface. But it's not as powerful and as feature complete as the classic Fiddler. They're the same. This is the same tool. Everything works like a Fiddler, but there are new features like you can set headers or parameters in a form like this, and this is making it making work. It makes working with HTTP requests a lot easier because you don't have to write manually. But it doesn't have anything new other than that. In some ways, it's a mix between PostMan and Fiddler, and trying to be as powerful as Fiddler, but also good looking. So the other tool that we have is Insomnia, which is my favorite tool out of these four. For most of my projects, usually nowadays I'm working with Insomnia because it's easier and right to the point. I can come in here and send my request and get it back. I can save my request. It's a free tool. You can download it very easily, install it very easily, and you can simulate different types of requests that you usually work with. And it's actually a very good application to use. It's easy, and most of us don't need crazy stuff that is inside Fiddler. It's just too complex or too heavy. But Insomnia, in many ways, is the easier choice, and we can do everything. Let's say if you want to send a JSON it is possible to write JSON in here. It has a beautified JSON down in here that you can use to make it more good looking, and it works just the same as other apps that we talked about, but it's also my favorite application to work with. So if you are interested in an easier choice and at the same time it has a good UI and has enough features to test any API, so Insomnia could be a good choice. So the last but not the least tool that I'm going to talk about is HTTP REPL that Microsoft is actually working on, and it's a global tool that you can install it very easily. If you are already using .NET, you can use this command to install this tool on your system, and after that you can run command line. Let's do this. Let's go to CMD, and now you can use HTTP REPL. To use it better, let's set a base address which we are going to call again and again, and let's do that by using HTTP REPL and go to HTTP localhost 5000 and API and movie. Because I am using a REST API and all the URLs I'm working with is in this address, I'm setting it as my base address. If you have something like OpenAPI or Swagger, it understands it and generates URLs just the same as your API, but this is not doing that. My application is very simple. I'm not using Swagger or OpenAPI, and it's just a custom-made API. So when I connect, I can work with this address. Let's call it get, and you can see that I'm getting the list of my data, and I can use post too. To use post, you need to specify a code editor, something like Notepad or Notepad++ or VS Code. It's explained in the documentation. Let's see how it is actually. There is yes, set the default text editor. You can use pref set editor, and in here you have to set the address to your code editor. Usually you're going to use an code editor that understands JSON. Notepad++ is a good choice, and also VS Code. So let's test the post method and see how it's gonna work. So I create a post method in here, and I set the header to content type equals to application/JSON, and then I enter. So it creates a file in the background for me, and the extension is JSON, so I can create a JSON file here. Let's call the movie Batman and the year 2008, and let's add the double quotations. And I'm not saved. It's not saved yet, but when I use Ctrl S, it gets saved, and you can see that the REPL understands that the fact that we have saved the file, and when I close this, yeah, REPL understand that you have closed the file or your code editor and sends the request to server and gets the response back. Unfortunately, the response is empty for my application. But if I come here and run the kit again, you can see that we have Batman and year 2008 in here. So the item that we sent to the server worked, saved, and now is coming back to us using the get method. Of course, you can simulate other HTTP requests, and that's it for today. I tried to show you different tools to work with HTTP. REPL is one of the good choices because it's in command line. If you are interested with command lines and running simple command again and again inside your command line, that's your. So that's it for today. I showed you how to work with different HTTP tools, and my favorite is Insomnia, but in some cases I use REPL too. I hope this video could be useful for you, and if you are interested in .NET Word web development or C# language, you can always subscribe and follow my other videos. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.